Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 and the Continental GT 650 are the first parallel twin or multi-cylinder bikes from Royal Enfield for almost 50 years. And they've been in the country for a couple of years now, and they're going gangbusters as a super simple but fun, friendly and accessible sort of retro bike. But this one here is a little bit different. This is a privately owned bike which actually belongs to my in-law's neighbour, and the whole catalogue of accessories has been thrown at it, so it's kind of interesting. I heard it and I went, oh, this sounds pretty good. He was kind enough to let me ride it, and I was pretty impressed. First thing I noticed is, well, apart from all the little accessories, but when you ride it, is the sound and the go. So this has S&S pipes, and by the seat of the pants feeling, it feels like about a 10% sort of increase in performance, power and torque. I could be wrong, I could be more, could be a little bit less. It's a lot of fun to ride. Let's just keep riding it. It's super responsive, much more than I recall the standard bike. So I figured, why not make a phone call, take them to a dyno, somehow get a standard bike and compare the pair. Let's go! The standard bike, Royal Enfield claims 47 horsepower at or 35 kilowatts and 52 newton meters. Now that's at the crank. You usually get a bit of loss when it's at the wheel. So on the dyno, the standard bike produces 43 horsepower at 7,000 RPM and a very impressive 51.5 newton meters at 4,900. But interestingly, the graphs, particularly torque, are just nice and flat, really nice. So really good real world stuff, very flexible, very cool. Now for the modified bike. Now this has S&S pipes and a DNA air filter, so it should be interesting to see what happens. Oh. Okay, so the stock bike on the dyno was pumped out 43 horsepower at 51.5 newton meters at 4,900 RPM. Now, the aftermarket bike with the full S&S exhaust system and a DNA air filter has produced 43 horsepower, same, and 55 newton meters. So that's a bit of an improvement at about the same RPM. But the important thing is how they do it. Don't worry about the peak numbers, it's the big overall gains. So you can see the red line is the original and the blue line is the improvement of this bike, and that's where you got the real gains. Nice fat wedge improvement. Yes. Well, turns out my pants are pretty accurate. There was about a 10% increase, so I reckon that's pretty damn good. Yes, the final peak power outputs haven't really changed, but as I said earlier, just the flexibility throughout the rev range between the 3 and the 5,500 RPM, massive difference there, very noticeable, far more responsive, confirmed on the dyno, well worth it.